Peace and love, family, and Ramadan Mubarak to my Muslim brothers and sisters. Ramadan Mubarak. And I dedicate today's lesson from the Kybalion to Dr. Alice Guyate, who made her transition, I think today, of COVID-19. Dr. Guyate, fabulous, very well-known psychiatrist here in Washington, D.C., an elder, did a lot of work around issues of substance abuse, ran the Howard University substance abuse area for quite a while, and an advocate for young people. I don't even know how old she was. She's quite a senior, but all the work that she did around mental health. We've lost two giants here in D.C., Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and now Dr. Alice Guyate. So I dedicate today's reading to her. And I'm also aware that here in the United States, Ramadan Mubarak, Mamjada, here in the United States, is lifted the federal stay-at-home order. And that is interesting that today's lesson is on the principle of vibration. We really, really need to keep our vibrations high. And for those who choose to go out and resume, I don't know how normal they'll be, but resume their movements in their respective cities that are now open up, really do everything you can to keep your vibration high. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So today's lesson, Chapter 9 from the Kybalion, again, originally published in 1908. The Three Initiates, as that's who the author is. We will talk about that when I finish the readings. And it's Hermetic philosophy, very ancient philosophy, and this is a primer. This is a primer in spiritual science world. So, the principle of vibration, most important. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The Kybalion. The great third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. This Hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems. But then for centuries, it was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the Hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth, and the 20th century scientific discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and truth of this centuries-old Hermetic doctrine. The Hermetic teachings are that not only is everything in constant movement and vibration, but that the differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of vibrations. Not only this, but that even the all in itself manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered as at rest. The teachers directing the attention of the students to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object, such as a revolving wheel, seems to be at rest. The teachings are to the effect that spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, the other pole being certain extremely gross forms of matter. Between these two poles are millions upon millions of different rates and modes of vibration. Modern science has proven that all that we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion. And some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving toward the positions of the occultists who hold that the phenomena of mind are likewise modes of vibration or motion. Let us see what science has to say regarding the questions of vibrations in matter and energy. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests. In some degree, the vibrations arising from temperature or heat. Be an object cold or hot, both being but degrees of the same things, it manifests certain heat vibrations, and in that sense is in motion and vibration. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement, from corpuscle to suns. The planets revolve around suns, and many of them turn on their axes. The suns move around greater central points, and these are believed to move around still greater, and so on, ad infinitum. The molecules of which the particular kinds of matter are composed are in a state of constant vibration and movement around each other and against each other. The molecules are composed of atoms, which likewise are in a state of constant movement and vibration. The atoms are composed of corpuscles, sometimes called electrons, ions, etc., which also are in a state of rapid motion, revolving around each other and which manifest a very rapid state and mode of vibration. And so, we see that all forms of matter manifest vibration in accordance with the Hermetic principle of vibration. And so it is with the various forms of energy. Science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way with, and probably emanating in some way from, the ether. Science does not as yet attempt to explain the nature of the phenomena known as cohesion, which is the principle of molecular attraction, nor chemical affinity, which is the principle of atomic attraction, nor gravitation, the greatest mystery of the three, which is the principle of attraction by which every particle or mass of matter is bound to every other particle or mass. These three forms of energy, that's molecular attraction, chemical affinity, and gravitation, these three forms of energy is not as yet understood by science. Yet, the writers incline to the opinion that these too are manifestations of some form of vibratory energy, a fact which the Hermetists have held and taught for ages past. The universal ether, which is postulated by science without its nature being understood clearly, is held by the Hermetists to be but a higher manifestation of that which is called erroneously matter. That is to say, matter at a higher degree of vibration, and is called by them the ethereal substance. The Hermetists teach that the ethereal substance is of extreme tenuity and elasticity and pervades universal space, serving as a medium of transmission of waves of vibratory energy, such as heat, light, electricity, magnetism, etc. And I'll add Reiki and other energy work. The teachings are that the ethereal substance is a connecting link between the forms of vibratory energy known as matter on the one hand and energy or force on the other, and also that it manifests a degree of vibration in rate and mode entirely on its own. Scientists have offered the illustration of a rapidly moving wheel, top, or cylinder to show the effects of increasing rates of vibration. The illustration supposes a wheel, top, or revolving cylinder running at a low rate of speed. We will call this revolving thing the object in following out the illustration. Let us suppose the object moving slowly. It may be seen readily, but no sound of its movement reaches the ear. The speed is gradually increased. In a few moments, its movement becomes so rapid that a deep growl or low note may be heard. Then, as the rate is increased, the note rises one in the musical scale. Then, the motion being still further increased, the next highest note is distinguished. Then, one after another, all the notes of the musical scale appear, rising higher and higher as the motion is increased. Finally, when the motions have reached a certain rate, the final note perceptible to human ears is reached, and the shrill, piercing shriek dies away, and silence follows. No sound is heard from the revolving object, the rate of motion being so high that the human ear cannot register the vibrations. Then comes the perception of rising degrees of heat. Then after quite a time, the eye catches a glimpse of the object becoming a dull, dark, reddish color. As the rate increases, what happens? The red becomes brighter. Then, as the speed is increased, what happens? The red melts into orange. Then, the orange melts into yellow. Then follow successfully the shades of green and blue and indigo and finally violet as the rate of speed increases. Then the violet shades away. All colors disappear, the human eye not being able to register them. But there are invisible rays emanating from the revolving object, the rays that are used in photographing and other subtle rays of light. Then begins to manifest the peculiar rays known as the X-rays, etc., as the constitution of the object changes. Electricity and magnetism are emitted when the appropriate rate of vibration is attained. So now we've moved into vibrational medicine, the X-rays, the CAT scans. But as you notice, the colors that we were going through as the heat and the rate increases are the colors of the chakras, the colors of the rainbow, right? When the object reaches a certain rate of vibration, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original elements or atoms. Then, the atoms following the principle of vibration are separated into the countless corpuscles of which they are composed. And finally, even the corpuscles disappear, and the object may be said to be composed of the ethereal substance. Science does not dare to follow the illustration further, but the Hermetists teach that if the vibrations be continually increased, the object would mount up the successive states of manifestation and would in turn manifest the various mental stages and then on spirit-ward until it would finally re-enter the all, which is absolute spirit. So you see what's happening as the vibrations go upward. The object, however, would have ceased to be an object long before the stage of ethereal substance was reached. But otherwise, the illustration is correct inasmuch as it shows the effect of constantly increased rates and modes of vibration. It must be remembered in the above illustration that at the stages at which the object throws off vibrations of light, heat, etc., it is not actually resolved into those forms of energy, which are much higher in the scale, but simply that the object reaches a degree of vibration in which those forms of energy are liberated in a degree from the confining influences of its molecules, atoms, and corpuscles, as the case may be. These forms of energy, although much higher in the scale than matter, are imprisoned and confined in the material combinations by reason of the energies manifesting through and using material forms, but thus becoming entangled and confined in their creations of material forms, which to an extent is true of all creations. The creating force becoming involved in its creation. But the Hermetic teachings go much further than do those of modern science. They teach that all manifestations of thought, emotion, reason, will, or desire, or any mental state or condition are accompanied by vibrations, a portion of which are thrown off and which tend to affect the minds of other persons by induction. This is the principle which produces the phenomena of telepathy, mental influence, and other forms of the action and power of mind over mind, with which the general public is rapidly becoming acquainted owing to the wide dissemination of occult knowledge by the various schools, cults, and teachers along those lines at this time. This was written in 1908, when a lot of the new thought was coming about, or being restored, I should say. Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its corresponding rate and mode of vibration. And by an effort of the will of the person or of other persons, these mental states may be reproduced, just as a musical tone may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate, just as color may be reproduced in the same way. By a knowledge of the principle of vibration as applied to mental phenomena, one may polarize his mind at any degree he wishes, thus gaining perfect control over his mental states, moods, etc. I'm going to read it again. By a knowledge of the principle of vibration as applied to mental phenomena, one may polarize his mind at any degree he or she wishes, thus gaining a perfect control over his mental states, moods, etc. In the same way, he may affect the minds of others, producing the desired mental states in them. In short, he may be able to produce on the mental plane that which science produces on the physical plane, namely vibrations at will. This power, of course, may be acquired only by the proper instruction, exercises, practice, etc., the science being that of mental transmutation, one of the branches of the Hermetic art. A little reflection on what we have said will show the student that the principle of vibration underlies the wonderful phenomena of the power manifested by the masters and the adepts, who are able to apparently set aside the laws of nature, but who in reality are simply using one law against another, one principle against others, and who accomplish their results by changing the vibrations of material objects or forms of energy, and thus perform what are commonly called miracles. As one of the old Hermetic writers has truly said, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. So, to sum it up, when you are able to apply the principle of vibration to what we have previously read about with regard to the control of the mind, you affect your own self, but you also have the power to affect others. And what we see in the biblical stories and the other, great stories of our time and all of the master religions Miracles being performed are vibratory shifts, energetic shifts. And so as I open today, dedicating this to Dr. Galati, who, like I said, was a psychiatrist, working with the mind of people, it seemed only appropriate that the lesson would be on this vibration, because her work was to help raise the vibration of people so that they could overcome their addictions, their small-mindedness, their lack of self-love and self-worth. Now, also, when I think of the principal vibration, I always go back to the film, The Celestine Prophecy, if you haven't seen it. And I see my sister is here who went to NSSC with me. Greetings, Talia. And in this film, The Celestine Prophecy, we see at the end where people are able to vibrate at such a high level that they cannot be seen, that no thing can attach to them. And I believe that in the biblical text, when it speaks about folks gone in a twinkling of an eye, that's just what it means. We lift the vibration up so that we move into the ethereal substance, and then we can also have the capacity, if we've mastered it, if we are a master or we are an adept, to drop down back into the physical form. This is how that energy works. And there are people right now walking the planet who have the capacity to do this. There are people right now who are able to see far into other places and see what other people are doing and take themselves there energetically. So miracles are just the ability to use the universal laws in the appropriate way. So those who are returning to the streets in your respective cities and states, raise your vibration. Said nothing, no thing can attach itself to you. Be smart, take care of yourself. But vibratory elevation, it's a lot. And it starts with dealing with the physical. Diet, exercise, the right herbs and supplements, the right vibrational medicine, energy work, that sort of thing, yoga. All of these things are part of vibration medicine. There's an excellent book called Vibrational Medicine I can highly recommend. So anyway, bless you. And today, April 30th, the end of this month, for many, I think it's like the 7th week in shutdown. Do take care, be blessed, and we will see you tomorrow for Chapter 10 of the Kybalion. God bless. Ramadan Mubarak. Rest well. Peace.